This modern era of F1 racing has brought us tons of good racing and close championships. Those include the 2010 championship that went to the wire or the 2012 one, the season with the most amount of world champions racing at once, where the first 7 races were won by 7 different drivers, with highlights such as Pastor Maldonado's first and only win, and Williams' last to date. But for me, one of the best seasons of the modern era was 2009, a season without recurring driver nor team championships, a season with major regulation change regarding aerodynamics, wings and bodywork in the midst of our world financial crisis. This brings us to the champions of that season, Brawn Grand Prix, a team that didn't exist as such for the previous year and one full of mystery and uncertainty. This is a story that has been told again and again throughout the years, how the underdog came out of nowhere and dominated the first part of the season and barely made it through with the severe lack of funds for the second part to take the championship and get a fairy tale ending to a fairy tale story. Everyone has heard the team radio messages and seen the white and green cars cross the line, but not many know how it got there. Today we're going to be taking a look at exactly that, what actually led to the creation of Brawn Grand Prix. And if you end up liking the video, hey, maybe consider subscribing. I've done videos on BMW Sauber, Williams and McLaren Honda, so there's a ton of stuff that you may also enjoy. For the beginning of the story, we need to go back to 1997, where prominent tobacco advertiser British American Tobacco was convinced to buy out historic but struggling F1 team Tyrrell, renaming it as British American Racing, or BAR for short, for 1998. On their debut season, they hired the reigning world champion Jacques Villeneuve and unveiled a stunning look, with their 2 cars having different liveries for the 2 major cigarette brands they own, 555 and Lucky Strike. A look that was banned by the FIA, and they had to work around by creating the iconic zipper livery consisting of both designs on the same car, divided by a zipper along the middle. On their maiden season, they failed to score a single point, and for the 2001 they strapped a Honda power unit to the back, improving those results and being steadily on the up, and in 2004, with the help of young promise Jenson Button, they scored a handful of podiums and their maiden pole position, putting them 2nd overall in the Constructors' Championship, only behind the season-dominating Ferrari. Needless to say, expectations for 2005 were big. The start of the season didn't go as planned for BAR, struggling to find their feet and performing poorly on flyaway races, failing to score a single point up until the French Grand Prix, leaving the tobacco giant with a bad taste of mouth, deciding to leave F1 as a team by the end of the season, a move which played very good to Honda's hands, having completed their ambition of becoming a full-time F1 manufacturer team, for the first time since the 60s. Investing tons upon tons of cash into the project and signing Jenson Button and Rubens Barrichello as the drivers for the 2006 season, with BAT remaining as their maiden sponsor. The season went good for them, not amazing, but good, largely improving on 2005 and with their first win at the hands of Button for the Hungarian Grand Prix, finishing 4th behind the 3 biggest forces at the time, Renault, Ferrari and McLaren. For 2007, tobacco advertisements were ruled out entirely, so the partnership with BAT finished. The team unveiled one of the most unique liveries of all time that year, the so-called Earth car, depicting planet Earth against a black background of space. On the rear wing was the web address of the environmental awareness website myearthdream.com, which was launched on February 27, 2007, immediately following the official launch of the 2007 car. Reactions to the new livery were mixed, although Honda won an environmental award for their Earth car campaign at the end of the year. That though would go on to be the only award they won all year. Struggling with pace, reliability and aero design, they ditched the car by the halfway point of the season, deciding to focus on their 2008 contender. On November 12, 2007, Autosport.com confirmed that former Ferrari technical director Ross Brawn was to join Honda as team principal, and at the beginning of 2008, they launched their new car, a revised version of the Earth car, much more subtle and just as bad performing and unreliable as the 2007 one. This, plus the unstable global economy, led to Brawn getting a call from somebody high up in Honda, who said they were coming over to the UK and wanted to meet as soon as possible. Results hadn't been brilliant, so they thought there might be some kind of leadership change, but still, they didn't give up any advance warning or any kind of indication as to what was happening. The meeting happened, and after it, all Brawn could say was they want to shut the team down. Honda's sudden withdrawal of the sport was announced shortly after, but with heavy development for the regulation shakeup of 2007 simplifying the aero, the part where Honda struggled most, they would have had a strong car for the following year. This led to Honda considering a management buyout of the team, and after failing to find a buyer, they decided to pursue the option led by Ross Brawn, who would take on the whole operation and running costs from out-of-pocket money, and so they came to an agreement. Ross Brawn would purchase the team for £1. Yes, £1. as a symbolic sum to preserve the jobs of the workers and the progress made so far. They now had to find an engine. Honda's option had been the worst of the field the previous year, but it wasn't even an option because Honda's withdrawal was complete, not only as a team but as a manufacturer, same as Toyota and BMW, so there were only 3 other competitive options: Ferrari, Renault and Mercedes. They considered going with Ferrari, but then thought back to their history and came to the conclusion that they would never let a customer team beat them, and Renault's reliability wasn't the best, so they decided to strap a Mercedes engine to the back with only 4 weeks to go to testing and then went racing. The budget was low and everyone knew this. Drivers accepted less pay, the FIA waived the entry fee, and there was not enough money to keep up with the development race throughout the season. Nonetheless, they knew they had a good car, just not how good. Paperwork though didn't go that smoothly, with the other teams not knowing whether they make it to the grid on time, and fortunately they did, although just barely. The name was approved and so was the entry, and the team was on track for their shakedown after they had missed testing with their predominantly white livery. Why was it that way? To be a neutral background for any and all investment opportunities for incoming sponsor. The thing was, they were just too fast. Not knowing if it was a fluke or not, Button drove the car back to the pits to what he heard. "This is going to be a fun year, mate." Quickly, they filled the car up with fuel, and they were still very fast. You see, they not only had a really solid car, but they had found a loophole in the regulations, one that they thought the other teams would figure out too, and some did, but not all to the same extent. The so-called double deck diffuser, or double diffuser for short, exploited a way to divide the underbody airflow, leading to the car producing not only the normal amount of downforce, but the extra layer provided some airflow to be diverted to a low spoiler, creating a ton more grip along with the other aerodynamic advancements. Other teams disregarded them as running on low fuel as a way to attract sponsors, but the surprise came in Australia, the season opener. There, the new entrants took pole, locked out the first row of the grid, and after a horrid start for Rubens, finished 1-2. Jenson would go on to win 6 out of the next 7 races, and by the time the other teams caught up to them development-wise, it was just too late. Red Bull would pose the biggest threat, but a consistent and smooth Jenson kept up with them. That plus some good racing by his teammate Ruben on the second part of the season, robbing the blue cars of 2 wins, sealed the title for both driver and team. Less than a year after their inception, Brawn Grand Prix were world champions. Jenson Button was world champion. They had done it. On November 16, 2009, it was officially announced that Daimler AG, in partnership with an investment firm, had purchased 70% stake in Brawn Grand Prix. The team would be rebranded as Mercedes Grand Prix for 2010. The remaining 25% stake is Ross Brawn's, in partnership with Nick Fry. The team used the Brawn Grand Prix base in Brackley for its operations, and Brawn stayed on as team principal until the end of the 2013 season. They would go on to dominate the hybrid era, winning every single championship from the 2014 one to date. Brawn Grand Prix had a race win success of 47%, 8 wins in 17 races, and by winning both titles in its only year of competition, the team is the first ever to achieve a 100% championship success rate. This was an extremely rare occurrence in the sport, a technically new team sweeping both championships. This has also happened due to a certain set of circumstances all piling up, those being a major regulation change, a crisis that led to an important team backing off and 3 engine manufacturers leaving the sport, a management change, and the hunger for victory. This also shows that it will probably never happen again, although myself and probably a lot of fans would be glad if it did. If you liked the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. Here are 2 videos you should absolutely watch next, and I will see you all next week.